We welcome you here live for tonight's main event for the iSCAR KBRN Street Stock Tour, round number 6. And my goodness, a lot of anticipation going in here for tonight's main event. It's coming down to closing time, and here we are, the finale. My name is Zeke Reyes.
I'm Dewey Schramm.
And I'm Kenneth Bueno.
We're going to be your commentators here for tonight's main event as everybody gets themselves set up, and I do not know what Dewey is chewing on. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and drive ourselves into tonight's broadcast. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in for this special evening as we're going to crown a champion here after tonight's 50-lap main event. And guys, I don't even know what to say. This season has been just so hectic. I just don't know what to anticipate now.
Yeah, of course, this is our 10th season of the iSCAR Street Stocks. Of course, the longest running iSCAR series. Of course, this was the very beginning where it all started here in iSCAR 4 years ago, and now we're wrapping up our 10th season. So we've come a long way, and we're getting ready to crown our 10th champion. But it looks like tonight it's only going to be a 2-car battle for this championship. Only 2 people have a mathematical chance at winning, and that is Hunter Johnson, who has won, I believe, 3 of the races so far this season, and Sartaj Mann, who won last week at Bristol to really boost himself up in the standings. So if we had a full field of 43 tonight, Michael Bianchini would have an extremely outside chance, which would consist of him winning and Hunter finishing last. But because you don't have a full field, he cannot score enough points to win. So it's down to Hunter and Sartaj to battle it out for the title, and I'm super excited to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, you mentioned, Dewey, the roots and the 10 seasons that we ran in the Street Stock series in iSCAR, and every single season we always go back to where the roots start here on the iRacing platform, Charlotte Motor Speedway. What a great venue. It's played host to so many of the Street Stocks in seasons past. You know that whenever you start iRacing, you start Street Stocks, you start your rookie class, this is exactly where you got to get it done and try to get wins. So especially that this is the championship battle, this is definitely going to be a marquee event that's really going to make a staple to how the Street Stocks are going to run from here on out. And a 10th year anniversary.
That's right, and we're running on a different version of Charlotte. Usually, traditionally, we'd run the yellow version of Charlotte, in which you had the older walls and such like that. But here tonight, at the newer side, we've run this track I think a couple of times now. But I just said it's a placeholder on iRacing once you become a rookie and get your membership. So I'm pretty sure with all these drivers roaming around through the racetrack, they know how this track is. They've run so many rookie races in their past iRacing careers, and I'm pretty sure experience. I don't even know if experience is really going to play key here for tonight because it's such a wild racetrack.
Yeah, and that's the really interesting thing, of course, here in USA or where you start out on iRacing. So usually experience can be one of the difference makers in a race tonight. But because it's one of the founding tracks, of course, that people start their iRacing careers on, literally everybody in this race has run this track before. So everyone knows the ins and outs of how these street stocks run here. So the fields should be much more leveled off than in other races we've seen, especially even in street stocks and the other races we've seen so far. So this should really be, I think, the most interesting race of the season. And I don't know if you saw before we went live, all the people messing around on the Roval portion of the track. It is under consideration for us to maybe run the Roval for the next Street Stock season, so stay tuned for that.
Lots of excitement here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And really, it's so simple to go around this racetrack. Much slam it all the way full throttle. We'll work with the draft. But that's pretty much what we've seen all season, guys. Pretty much what we saw ever since the starting race at Iowa. We saw how draft plays such a key factor. We've seen the full throttle tracks and how much you have to work with the draft and the cars around you to really make something happen, especially up front where we've seen Hunter Johnson so dominant, commanding this entire field. And with this race, it really sets a level playing field that we've seen pretty much all season. I know that Hunter Johnson has been dominant pretty much every single race other than a handful, but tonight this really could be a game changer on how you really have to set off your championship and for any new drivers trying to make their statement this season.
Yeah, speaking of statement, that number 48, Michael Bianchini, I know he has an alternative account, and I know he runs this type of stuff 24/7. That number 48, Michael Bianchini, the man who's sitting third in points, takes it to the top, and he's going to win the poll here tonight, so congratulations, that number 48. Honestly, no surprise to see him up top. He talks about it 24/7, how he runs up there in the street stock side of things, and here he is, just proving his worth here for tonight. Full grid is going to be shown right in front of your screen as we get set for 50 laps here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Rounding out row number 1, Michael Bianchini, and that number 48. Alongside of him, that number 58, Dominic Howe.
And right behind them in row 2, we've got the 65 of Dylan Alt and points leader and championship favorite Hunter Johnson in 4th.
Down to row number 3 is the 7 of Charlie Byer, who last time in the last summer series season at Charlotte Motor Speedway, he went around leading the field. He's going to try to get some redemption from that. He starts on the inside of row 3 and starting to his outside. The driver second in points, some driver we're going to watch over the course of this evening, Sartaj Maan on the 49.
Row number 4 going to be displayed on your screen for a while, and that number 41 has been so dominant this entire season, picked up multiple wins. We'll see if we can round this out with a victory here tonight. Kyler Wynn in that 084 starting in 8th place.
And rounding out your top 10, Dane Cruz with a really nice qualifying lap for him, and to his outside, Blaise McKinney in the 57. The rest of this large field for tonight's race at Charlotte will scroll on the bottom of your screen, so pick one of the many drivers in the field tonight and hope they do well, or at least escape most or not all of the carnage you will definitely see in this race.
I'm so excited to see on how this is all going to turn out at the end, as I loaded up trading paints a bit late, so therefore you're going to see some paints refreshed and such like that. But man, we got a ton of people here for tonight, and rather than our classic street stock main event in which you know, we run heat racing and such like that to, you know, water down the field, here tonight there's a solid 40-car field for street stocks. My goodness, this has to be the biggest field in street stock history, and it's going to be wild.
Messy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be messy as well, because, man, we got a lot of anticipation here for tonight as these drivers are going to go ahead and set themselves up. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of people pit start as well.
Yeah, pit starting is, if you're going to pit start at any race, at any track, it's probably going to be this one, as you see the last couple rows displayed on the screen. So it looks like we've got at least 42. We do have a 43-car field for the street stock race, which does mean if we bring up the points once again, Michael Bianchini came into tonight, who won the poll, 41 points back of Hunter Johnson. So if Michael Bianchini wins from the poll tonight and Hunter Johnson finishes dead last, Michael Bianchini might be your street stock champion. So, of course, it's highly, highly unlikely, but anything's possible here in iSCAR.
Yeah, this is definitely something you want to see if you're Michael Bianchini. Right now on the pole, 43 drivers, so much mess that lots of other drivers have to go through, and Hunter Johnson got into trouble last week, so if he gets into that this time around, that could be big for the championship battle, especially with the 49 if he's also involved in some incidents, but we'll just have to see. So pace car 3 and 4, we're ready to go. This is going to be insane.
Yep, no doubt about it. That number 48, not only that, he starts himself up front. That's an extra bonus point, so make that 41-point gap to a 40-point gap. And once he leads some laps, he'll close down that gap even further. So we'll have to see and keep an eye on that number 48, Michael Bianchini. Pace car is on in. You see some cars pit starting. The 48 will jam the throttle. Whip it away here at Charlotte.
The most anticipated race, perhaps, of this summer series is now underway. I believe this might be the first 43-car field ever in the Street Stock Series. Of course, last season, in part number 1, we did heat racing to determine, I believe, a 30-car field. But it's all out for 43 cars tonight. So we get to see the best of the best here try to make their way up to the front, potentially win here tonight.
See some drivers spread out here, and now where draft is going to play a key factor. You see the 49 already hooking up to the back bumper of Dylan Alt, trying to make something happen to the inside. Now just going to make the pass regardless, giving Hunter Johnson the opportunity, and now there's still a battle for the race lead side by side as the rest of the field scrams through turn 1.
Yeah, everybody got really fanned out as the number 48 Bianchini jammed the throttle a bit early. That allowed him to get a slight bit of a gap, but it's now playing a bit of a backfire as because as he got that jump. The field starts to close in at a higher rate right behind, and here comes that outside lane. The 58 of Dominic Cow will not have any help. Dylan will drop to the low side, so move to 65, most likely into second place.
Proximity teammates up on that high side. We're commentating on this like it's Talladega, but the two teammates from Proximity of Dominic Cow and Hunter Johnson working together up on that high side. And of course, Dominic has some pretty bad memories here at Charlotte. Of course, he was mere feet from winning a previous season race, I forget which one, but winning a street stock race in iSCAR here at Charlotte, and he got turned across the line, and Dallas Myhan ended up winning that race somehow. Myhan's around 23rd right now, so Dominic trying to avenge that and other close calls here and see if he can win his first street stock race here at Charlotte.
So here is this first pack, and only two drivers on the outside with Dominic Howe and Johnson on the outside. And then you have this second pack that's looming in. There is Blaze McKinney, Zoltan Hertzeg, Mark Frimpong. I'm on the drivers there, and a third larger group with a lot of drivers single file, only a handful of drivers to the outside. Might have gotten shuffled out within the past couple laps. That's the 47 up there. And a lot of drivers now starting to try and work together, which seems to be the best part about here at Charlotte. I mean, you have to find who to work with, which driver you trust, which driver you can't really believe in, and we're seeing that a lot right now early on in this race.
That's right. You have to treat this race like a super speedway. Work with the drivers right in front of you to get yourself situated for these next upcoming laps. And you see right there the number 47 at JJ Hill, really pinching down that PPM car. I think that's
That's Glenn Bunder, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's Glenn Bunder. No, it's not. It's the 61 of Hunter Rupp. So this larger second pack seems a bit, honestly, it seems to be a bit more dangerous than this first pack because all these people, you see it right there.
JJ Hill into the outside wall, collecting one or two other cars, and that might be actually the entire wreck right there. That was a close call. It will still be a caution, but with the amount of cars that were coming towards that, oh no, who was that?
That was Ryan Kwan.
That's a tough break. But all things considered, considering where he spun out, that could have been a whole lot worse than it was.
Oh, we got a replay.
That's true. We'll see what happened there. It started with the 47 there. Might have gotten loose off of turn 2. Not sure whether there was some help behind. And there, I think there was the tap that unsettled the car, and there it was.
That's
almost got into Hunter Rupp there. And then Andy McDowell has just nowhere to go to the outside wall. And then just he gets T-boned right there. And then Ryan Kwan gets into that as he's backing up on the apron.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just not a lot of track awareness there by JJ backing up. Probably just didn't see him, but Alex K. Gretz was the one that turned him around in the 17, and that is a huge hit. I'm not sure who that car was. That's one of those. It might be Dylan Basin, actually, was the one that got into him right there. Nowhere for him to go. So that might end the 08's night, unfortunately. But if anybody retires from that wreck, that might eliminate Michael Bianchini from the championship hunt.
JJ Hill on pit road, of course servicing his machine. Lucky break to all those drivers who pit started. They're going to be back within drafting distance, and really surprised to see a big fan out like that, especially this early in the race. I'd expect a lot of more drivers to be grouped up together, but I guess not. So it seems as though if you could get a line going as soon as the restart drops, they're going to pull away. It's such that, unlike that second pack, which sort of was riled up in some sort of issue, and I wouldn't say issue, they just didn't get their restarts right. And they got disconnected from that front pack, and it seems as though can't really catch yourself up because everybody's at the same speed.
Yeah, so again, a bit of a break for the guys that did pit road start. So they'll have a bit of a chance to potentially make some ground up. But yeah, you mentioned racing it like a super speedway earlier, and of course that applies here in that the inside line, of course, is the shorter way around the track, so you're going to want to still maintain the bottom. We saw Dominic Howe stay up on that high side, and he barely got the lead. But for the most part, the inside line definitely the preferred one at almost every racetrack you go at, and especially here at Charlotte.
And like the super speedway racing, there's always the distinction between the people who try to run up front, the people who have nothing to lose, and especially coupling with the fact that this is the championship race, the drivers who are in this point standings running, notably Bianchini, Johnson, Sartaj, and the 49. But in the super speedway races, you always have that front pack that's always usually running consistently, those guys up front that want to be up front, that stay up front in that first pack. And then there's always drivers that want to stay low and stay conservative in the back, trying to anticipating something up front to happen so they can get past, gain positions, and gain track position in the easiest way possible. So just like any sort of super speedway race at Daytona or Talladega, with this car and track combo, you have to treat it just like it is. And it's just pretty much a super speedway race with these cars. You have to treat it way differently than you do with tracks that we saw just as Iowa, like Darlington, like a handful of other venues we've seen this season, and that's exactly what's starting to play out. I was surprised to see that happening, but then again, as I started thinking about it a little bit more, it started to make a little more sense, especially with some drivers who may just want to stay out of trouble for tonight.
So we get ourselves ready here for the first restart of the night. I think we're going to get the one to go here at the line. Looks like nobody up towards the front came down pit road, which should not be surprising, of course. You really don't need to pit at all in the street stocks unless you have a blown tire, and even that's difficult to achieve. So JJ Hill, the only car a lap down, of course, just got involved in that big wreck. So it looks like we'll have 42 of the 43 cars that started still on track here for the restart. But it looks like in an unrelated incident, Blaze McKinney has lost a lap somehow.
Yeah, it looks like Blaze in that number 57 is not even being displayed on the session. I think either a fell throughput or some kind of disconnection on his part. Fortunate for him, he's going to have to get maybe back into the session and get himself going ASAP to not lose as many laps. But unfortunately for that 57 Blaze McKinney, he's going to be stuck in a hole for right now. He's still yet to rejoin as well. Doubling up for this restart, Dominic Howe in the inside lane. Michael Bianchini right up on that high side. These top two have yet to pick up a street stock win in a while. Both of them have been in victory lane, and man, what a beautiful sight to see 41 cars lined up like this.
Yeah, you don't even get that in real life anymore.
That's right.
Of course, the max field size now 40 for the Cup cars and was 32 for trucks pre-COVID, but that'll revert once qualifying returns, which should be Daytona next year. But in the meantime, in the virtual world, the pace car will slide itself down pit road. Dominic Howe and Michael Bianchini will lead us to our first restart of the night, and we are back green here at Charlotte.
Green flag, green flag.
Bit of a stack up right behind. Looks like the 10th or 11th row. Meanwhile, up front, that number 58 of Dominic Howe easily retakes the lead. But here comes the number 12 of Hunter Johnson. He's been up front. He might have a bit of PTSD. Speaking of, big wreck right behind into turn number 1. And a big flip as well as one car goes up and over.
Jeremiah Bethune, Mitch Hobbs, couple of the cars I see involved in that. There was a red car that was flipping over. I'm not sure who that was. Looks like it's the 42 of Cole Williams who has gone around and over here. So we'll get a look and see what brought this caution out.
Yeah, that was a very awkward wreck.
It started way up here.
Oh, Casey went over as well.
Flipped over too. That's the street stock. That's. I mean, we've seen the street stocks glitch flip like that all season, so that's add 2 more to that total.
That looks so. I have no comment. That's too funny.
You see Eddie McDowell there in the 20. He's been involved in both incidents, and of course JJ Hill spun in front of him earlier. But this started around Casey Drake and another car. But you see Mitch hit the inside wall pretty hard there as well, and Jeremiah got a piece, but. Somebody hit Casey, and they both... Looks like that's James Youngman in the 80. We'll get a look here.
Ryan Berry.
It's a 59 of Ryan Berry.
Wide, yeah. Looks like there wasn't enough room, and they all piled in. Nick Miller with a nice job of avoiding that one. David Bachman, too. My goodness, that was a close call.
And then you see the drivers involved just kick flipping. Here's the onboard cam with David Bachman. So close.
Wow.
Brownie points to David Bachman and Nick Miller for wreck avoidances there. But yeah, I think Barry just went for a hole that wasn't there, and unfortunately took a couple of good cars out of the contention here.
And the more of this field just dwindles down, the more Michael Bianchini has to worry a bit for his championship hopes, which were very minimal.
Yeah, he was like the outside shot to end all outside shots coming into tonight, but you know, it was a fun little story to, hey, what if that happened and he actually won the championship? But again, of course, that was such a small likelihood of happening anyway, but again, just a fun idea to entertain. But with looks like 3 or 4 people already out, that probably will not happen at this point. But I mean, Bianchini still had a pretty good season overall. I mean, 3rd in points out of a lot of people. I believe over 60 or 70 people have run at least one race in the Street Stock Series. So to finish top 3 in points is still a great accomplishment for that 48. Of course, won 2 poles, also winning the pole at Dover, and led quite a few laps. So even though he didn't win the championship this year, not a season to be disappointed with at all for the 48.
Yeah, a pretty solid season to pretty much celebrate at the end of this one. You see him go down pit road, probably get some service, get some fresh tires on the way there. But again, very solid season from the 48 of Michael Bianchini. And, you know, he really just had to enter this race crossing his fingers, hoping that something like this, like a 43 car field, would happen. And now that it's pretty much dwindled down a little bit more, he has to really rely on something, a miracle pretty much, to happen in order for him to gain this championship and at least gain some points off of there as well. Right now, obviously not looking the case, but we're still early in this race, so anything can happen. And like we saw with that huge wreck, it could involve the guys up front. But of course, the 48 of Michael Bianchini really doesn't have anything to complain about this season. Very, very strong. He's shown consistency. He's shown a good chunk of challenging to the 12 of Hunter Johnson, which we've seen as unstoppable in this series so far. So lots of things to celebrate for that 48 team. But I think right now, for the 49 and the 12, those eyes are on the celebration for the championship right now, because they are the 2 closest ones at the moment. Hunter Johnson on the outside of row number 1, Sartaj on the inside of row number 2. Those drivers stuck together like glue. I'm surprised to see whether they may beat and bang or do something around those lines.
I wouldn't be surprised if they beat and bang either. I mean, even though this is a super speedway type track, you could still use the bump and run here. We've seen it as Corey H. Hart's moved a couple people out of the way to get himself up front, and not only that, he won the race as well the last time we came here. We've seen the bump and run by Alex K. Gretz in that number 17 a couple years, I mean, I wouldn't say a couple years back, a couple races ago here at this very racetrack, which resulted in one of the Evo cars going to victory lane. I think it was Dallas Myhan who went in victory lane. We've seen it by Garrett Hulsey, who doesn't race in the league as much, in that number 88. He put the bump and run to Hunter Johnson, who was attempting to go for the full 6 in a row, as you saw a car sort of spin itself in the back. Never mind, he just straightened it out. But yeah, we've seen many bump and runs here at Charlotte, but I would not be surprised if we see more some of that contact.
Looks like Andy McDowell, unfortunately, after being involved in those 2 incidents, has called it quits for the night. But, you know, he came into tonight, I believe, 5th in points.
That's right.
So with Andy already out of the race, if Matthew Klein's in 22nd place right now, if that holds up where it is, Matthew Klein is going to get a top 5 points finish here in the Street Stock Series.
That's unbelievable.
Because Klein came into tonight 8th, or not 8th, but 8 points behind Andy for 5th. So with Andy out of the race, this opens the door wide open for Matthew Klein to get his first ever top 5 points finish, and that would be really cool for that 11. And he came into tonight 15 points behind Dominic Howe and 18 behind Michael Bianchini. So if those two have a lot of problems, Matthew Klein could finish as high as 3rd in points this season.
That's that is unbelievable. A man who has been in this league for so long, we don't talk about him a lot, but for Matthew Klein, that would be a huge achievement. He lost this race to Ryan Berry in that number 59 by a mere margin in turns 1 and 2 before we even had green-white checkered. So that number 11 I mean, I guess he could cap it off with a nice run here tonight, championship-wise, but he's gonna have to focus on this race and get himself situated to get that maybe a P3 position in championship. Who knows?
Yeah, of course, Matthew doesn't run up front all the time, but he's been one of the longest tenured people in the leagues. In this league, he's showed up to almost every race every week. He's been racing so much here. It would be so cool to see him finally win an iSCAR race. I mean, everyone would be super happy for him, and I hope he gets that one day. But even if he doesn't round out this season with a win, finishing in the top 5 in points out of, again, almost 70 people would be such a really cool accomplishment for him, and definitely, I think, a momentum booster coming up for the Winter Series in a few months.
We'll just have to see. So row 1, restart lap 15. Dominic Howe, Hunter Johnson, first row. Sartaj Maan and Dylan all into row 2. Charlie Bauer, Kyler Wynn, row 3. We are green once more from Charlotte Motor Speedway. A good jump by the 58 of Dominic Howe, but an equal standing by Hunter Johnson and Dylan Alt. They're going to work together 2 by 2. Now Hunter Johnson squeezes to the inside, going into turn 1, long line all the way down.
Yeah, everybody trying to protect that blue line. It used to be white, now it's blue. As they go into turns 1 and 2, Dominic looks like a foot up that blue line as they head down the back straightaway. Everybody snaking in and trying to sneak off a draft of that lead car, the 58. Still in the lead as now Hunter will close that gap between him and the leader. We'll see if got a wreck in the back.
Oh, that's a big crash up into the outside wall. 2 cars, and we have another flip here as more people go spinning in turn number 4. And that car went... That's Dane Cruz in the 46, who started 9th tonight, and he had a top 10 run going, and he almost went over the wall right there. And you see Alex K. Gretz around now, just past the entrance of pit road. So we'll get a look and see what brought out our 3rd caution, and unfortunately a tough end to a promising night for Dane Cruz.
Well, I got turned by the 09. I'm not sure who that is, and Dane just rode up
Eric
the wall. Very weird looking wreck.
And another glitch flip. Oh, there's Bianchini.
He just came to a stop.
Oh, boy.
Time. What a close call for Michael Bianchini. But yeah, Dane Cruz glitch flips and almost goes over the inside wall. But yeah, Eric Heater hasn't shown up in a long time. Hasn't raced that much this summer series. Unfortunately, triggers that incident there. And Cruz glitch flips, that's number 3 of those tonight. And a couple more people went around as well back here. I think out of camera shot.
That's right.
I definitely saw Gretz go around. There's Barry. Mitch Hobbs in there. There's Gretz.
Yeah, it looks like a triple-digit number. It looks like the 002. Don't know who this is.
That's Liam Sheen.
Oh, Liam Sheen. It looks like he was just trying to go low, and not Michael Bianchini,
That's
but Michael DiMaggio.
Yeah, and there's Gretz. So 2 Prox cars involved in that wreck, unfortunately, for them.
Nothing doing of Liam Sheen's fault. Like, all these people are just trying to gun for that low side to get around. And unfortunately for Sheen, he dove down a bit late, and Michael was already committed to go to that bottom. And you see some accordion effect right there as Gretz piles in as well. But nothing of that number 3's. That 3's.
Yeah, that's just. Yeah, that's how stack-up wrecks work, unfortunately. Nothing any of them could do, but that was a close call for the 56 of Bridger Olsen. I believe Dane Cruz actually flew over him, so if we can get an onboard of that at some point. Bridger Olsen with a great maneuver to not be involved in that wreck. So him, David, and Nick we've had some pretty good wreck avoidances despite the early wrecks we've had.
Well, that's a good thing. At least the good thing for the 3 is that he wrecked, and then he got into that incident, and then immediately after, he was facing straight to pit road, so he already went down to get his service and get damage fixed. So it's not too bad for him. I know he probably miscommunication there. Liam Sheen was just, and both of them pretty much are just trying to get away from this wreck unscathed, and unfortunately the speed difference was too much for those 2. So another yellow. Lap number 18, and with a large field, you kind of have to expect these yellows, much like we've seen all season. We've seen so many early yellows transition into the later portions of the race. It's seeming to look the same for the trend right here, Season 10, the finale. And this could really shake up a lot of things. We almost saw the 48 and Michael Bianchini involved in a wreck. We could see some of that happen with some other drivers that might be key drivers to be a threat for this race win, but we'll just have to see. I mean, early yellows seem to be the key factor in how to plan these races out, and it continues to do so tonight.
Yeah, that's right, and especially at a track like Charlotte, in which track position just means so much here, as you see a couple more drivers just sort of dwindling themselves to the front, trying to get some screen time and such. Yeah, yellows have been a constant trend. I think it's because of the bigger fields, and like, there's a lot of variables in why there's a lot of early yellows. It can be setup, it could be the track, it could be the line, it could be the conditions, and all sorts of things. Speaking of conditions, Dewey, why don't you take me down with the weather and see how it looks outside?
Well, we're almost halfway through the race, but it's never too late to get a good weather report here. But the track temp is 76 degrees here. The air temperature 1 degree below that, 75. Humidity is 1%. It's pretty dry out. So the wind's coming out of the south, about 5 miles per hour. Mostly cloudy skies here, but still great racing conditions. And you just mentioned track position. That makes it a bit more surprising to me that Michael Bianchini pit when he did, because he was top 5 before coming down pit road, and you saw that close call he had with the flipping Dane Cruz in that previous wreck. So he's back to 31st now. So with only 30 laps to go, he's gonna have a real rough time trying to get himself back up to the top 5 again.
Luckily for Michael, this is a longer race than what we traditionally run. I think the longest street stock Charlotte race before this was actually season 1, in which we ran, I think it was 40 laps there. I'll have to take a look, and yep, it was 40 laps, in which Jack Healy came out as our inaugural series winner. His only win this entire league, but looks like we went 40 laps season 2. I'll have to check season 3. We went 5 laps shorter at season 3 with 35 laps. Season 4, we went 25 laps. So, yeah, it's all over the place. The races got shorter for some reason. Don't really know why. I find it
was a weird
amusing.
time.
Yeah, a very odd time of iSCAR. 5th season, we ran 35 laps. 6th season, looks like we ran 40 laps. 7th season, we ran also 40 laps as well. 8th season, 8th season, 44 laps. We went overtime for that race. 9th season, I think we had 45 laps. So yeah, this is the longest ever street stock race in iSCAR, mile-wise as well as lap-wise here at Charlotte.
Yeah, it makes it a bit of an interesting strategy, of course. Again, street stocks at Charlotte's about as, straightforward as it gets on iRacing. And even if the fuel is fine, it's still it could be a different approach you would take, between a 25-lap race, a 35-lap race, and a 50-lap race. Of course, you always still want to be up towards the front, but this allows you with a longer race. Of course, we've seen all these big wrecks already. This allows you a little bit of leeway to maybe lay in the back a bit longer than you usually would have to try and avoid the big wrecks. And if you play it right, you may be in a position to win at the end.
Yeah, 10 seasons of trial and error, and of course another trial in this season, the 50 laps to cap off 10 seasons of street stock racing. So lots of things we've seen over the course. We've seen all the way longer races, shorter races. Now this is being the longest one. So I mean, it continues to happen in the street stock series. It's pretty much a high for experimentation. So I enjoy this idea, but we'll just have to see how these drivers really navigate the length of this race and try to strategize themselves for the end. We'll just have to see on this next restart.
That's right. The pace car is going to scoot itself onto pit road. Dominic Cowan, the 58. Ever since he's taken the lead, he's yet to look back from it, but the 12, 100 Johnson's been putting the pressure. Green flag is out, and Dylan Alt in that number 65 will push that 58 up to the front, and that'll leave the 12, 100 Johnson dry. You see them fanning out 4 wide in the back. Bianchini to the high
might
side.
Be trouble.
Oh my goodness.
Man, Bianchini, the daring move up on all the way up to the high side into turn 1. I thought they were going to wreck right there. We've already seen a wreck in that spot tonight with Ryan Barry earlier in the race. So a close call there as one car almost hits the inside wall. But does a nice job keeping it going and avoiding trouble. But here out of turn 4, see the 65 of Dylan Alt. He's gotten a second. A big moment there for Sartaj down on the apron, but holds on. He might have just saved a chance for a championship. And we got one car through the grass. Holds on, that's spring pong. And we do have a caution.
Looks like it happens towards the back again
Oh,
as... Oh,
Basin!
no!
Basin.
Oh, no.
He's
There he
probably
goes.
still flipping.
Shane DiMantova in the 52, one of those cars near the entrance of pit road. And I don't know who that other car
Matthew
is.
Klein.
That's a tough break for Klein, but it's flip number 4 already tonight.
That's right. Get your flip counter out. It's probably going to grow as we're under caution for yet again. And it looks like the 80 of James Youngman was way up the racetrack. Stayed there for a while and
hit.
bang.
Keelan Belcher in the 51 got a piece of that as well. And we'll see where Klein gets involved. Oh.
Has to be the slightest
Huh?
snap.
Looks like they got stuck or something, but yeah, Klein, for all intents and purposes, missed that wreck. He just got the slightest of taps, but we'll see what happened to Dylan Basin here, who we did see flipping.
Whoa.
Oh.
I don't know. That's interesting.
That's a hardware issue.
And barrel rolls across the finish line, so style points for Dylan Basin to wrap up his street stock season, but not the way, of course, he wanted to go out.
You see the car just jut right about here.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know if there was I don't know if that was netcode for someone that was there and then maybe Alt F4, but
Yeah,
that
you
was
see the
bizarre.
33. He was blinking out. That's what I
That
was
may
about
have
to
been-
mention about, but I don't know if Dylan hit the 33. That looks to be
I think that might be Justin Johnson.
Justin
I think.
Johnson in the 33.
No, he's too far down the track. That shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, but something interesting to take note of, Shane got hit by that blinking 33. You'll see it right here, when the contact was right about there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Justin
That's where
blinked
Justin
as
got
the
his
contact
damage.
was made. Yeah. So Justin's night's probably over, and there you see Klein come to a stop. Yeah, so we didn't see that initially because Justin blinked right through the contact, but that will probably end both Shane DiMantova and Justin Johnson's sight, and perhaps Dylan Basin as well. So if you look down the bottom of the ticker, you're starting to see some attrition here at Charlotte. You know, at least 10 drivers already a lap down and potentially out of the running here tonight. So this is a typical thing we see in street stocks, especially at a bigger track like this. So don't be surprised with still half the race remaining if we see more of that here.
Well, you know how I mentioned beating banging before we were pretty much going through this race on the restart? Hunter Johnson had no mercy giving the bumper to 49 of Sartaj right out of turn number 4, and that really unsettled the race car. It put him a little bit under the apron. He was trying to merge back to the track. He had a little bit of help more from Charlie Beyer, who gave him an extra shove, and then they were going 3 wide right before that caution wave down. But he gave the bumper, he made it work, and made the pass. So Hunter Johnson's willing to do anything for a championship, even if the points are really that close, considering they're pretty much right there next to each other.
But hey, that just opens up the door for that number 49 of, hey, you gave me a bump, I'll give you a bump as well. So who knows if we might see some future contact between the 12 and the number 49 of Hunter Johnson and Sartaj Munn. So for Sartaj, might be a bit ticked off, and you know he's running for the championship standings. He doesn't mind giving the bumper to that number 12 as well. So we'll see what flares up between these two as we progress with this night.
And something interesting to point out as well, we see a lot at Charlotte, and we've already seen it multiple times tonight. If you're near the front and you spin out and you're still on the track, there's a good chance that somebody farther back is probably going to run into you. So if Sartaj, I mean, they're running 3rd and 4th right now. If Sartaj were to actually give the bumper to Hunter and turn him around and somebody in the back clobbers Hunter like we saw with J.J. Hill and Dylan Basin earlier, if that's contact that's hard enough to put Hunter out of the race, Sartaj needs to finish at least 17 spots ahead of Hunter without any bonus points to win this championship. So if Hunter gets knocked out and Sartaj has a good finish, that could be a championship-winning dump right there.
Championship-winning dump.
I mean,
it hasn't happened in iSCAR, luckily. I haven't seen...
That'd be a crappy way to win a championship, but it's a way to win a championship.
That's right. But, you know, you have those people out there who, hey, do whatever they have to do to win titles. And well, luckily in iSCAR, it's a relatively clean league points-wise. I mean, we've seen bump and runs for wins and such, but for championships, we've yet to see that. I don't know. Today's the full moon night to to see that, as we got a bit of reports. Dylan Basin looks like his game froze, unfortunately, but yeah, I don't recall anything crazy championship-wise that had contact in it. The last thing I can remember championship-wise that was extremely out of the blue was for that number 7 to Charlie Byer, who's actually running in 5th place, who blew his motor as he was in the championship points lead. It's talked about in iSCAR. Everybody knows the story behind that number 7 and his H pattern shifter, I think, and the incident on Homestead, and unfortunately Charlie was eliminated. Yeah, that was really sad.
F in the chat for noted SPM driver Charlie Byer. Hopefully he can round out a pretty good summer series with a good finish tonight. Of course, the last time we were at Charlotte a few weeks ago, he won the Yost Auto Sales Legend Series race here, so the 7 definitely knows his way around this 1.5-mile track, and he's currently sitting in 5th place with about half the race remaining, so Charlie definitely has a good shot at winning this race here tonight.
Then again, Charlie has won in pretty much a handful of other vehicles other than a street stock. You mentioned his win in the Yost Auto Sales Legend Series using the 1987 NASCAR Cup Series cars, and he won here as well in the daytime. He's won here in the Truck Series before last season, so he knows his way around Charlotte Motor Speedway. I've seen him in a couple other races in some other leagues running Charlotte Motor Speedway, and he seems to be one of the stronger drivers over on this front. So you can't count out that 7 once again. You can't really count him out at all here at this racetrack. He's got the experience. I want to see if he's able to capitalize it on this tonight.
Oh, no doubt about it. That number 7 to Charlie Byer. I mean, you're going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, speaking of those other leagues, one of those is the Bundren Lawn Care Series, which, of course, sponsored by Glenn Bundren, currently sitting in 8th place, which you can find on our very own Kenneth Bueno's racing channel. That series runs every Monday night, so be sure to tune into the KBRN channel for those races, because those are great races to watch. And speaking of races to watch, we've got one right here, and we're back underway with 23 laps to go.
Green, green, green.
Green flag back out, and looks like Alt got a better restart than Dominic, but that shorter radius on the front stretch allows Dominic to pull ahead, and you see them just totally ditch out that number 65 of Dylan Alt. Most likely to the back he goes, as there's a lot of scrambling right behind. You see the 37 of Glenn Bundren, the man we were talking about, shove himself to the low side, and look at all these drivers just hugging that bottom side, which seems to be just so key around, especially on restarts. Speaking of, Peter Kenny's in 6th place out of nowhere.
Yeah, you see Christopher Wallop in the 41 all by himself on the high side. He's just getting freight trained right now. That's how these tracks work. If you're all by yourself on the high side with no help, you are going straight to the back, and that applies to super speedways, intermediate, short tracks. It applies everywhere. And unfortunately, the 41 getting a good taste of that. There you see Basin back on the track from repairs, just getting out of the way. But Dominic's done a good job so far, still leading this race, and that was a close call at a turn 2, and someone's hit the wall.
I mean, pretty much on these speedways, you have to stay all the way to the bottom. It seems to be the comfortable position to be in. The only issue with staying all the way to the bottom is that if the driver in front of you makes a mistake, checks up, that could stack you up and stack everyone behind you up, and then that could... And we got a wreck right now. Alex K. Gretz is around. I think Ryan Kendrick, he's involved as well. Dylan Basin, after just getting out of the pits, is involved. Insult to injury for him. We're going to have to take a replay and see exactly what that happened. I was going to say, if the field stacks up, that could provide a wreck, and we just saw that happen right now.
Yeah, there were a ton of people flying through the grass, so something big definitely happened here. We'll get a look at a turn 4. Oh, this started up front with, I think that's Hunter Rupp and Ryan Kendrick, and there you see Rupp go and save it through the grass, but Alex K. Gretz clobbered Ryan Kendrick right here, gets clipped right up to the outside wall as we see Hunter go through the grass again, but we'll see how this started. Oh, I think Nick Miller turned Hunter down into Kendrick, and then right here, Gretz, out of camera shot, plowed him.
Oh
my goodness.
Well, Bianchini's luck ran out there. He ended up in that one. And right there, net coated right through him.
That's interesting because the 17 received damage, but the 00 didn't. So I guess a lucky break for Ryan Kendrick, but an unfortunate break for that number 17 of Alex K. Gretz, who's iRacing fate has just been decided on 20 laps to go, unfortunately, but coming out of closing time, and you see some more people screwing around. Austin Johnson, Mark Frimpong up toward the front as they need to move themselves to the back and stuff like that. But yeah, iRacing being iRacing, it chose and it exiled that number 17 of Alex K. Kretz. Unfortunate night for him. He's been involved in multiple wrecks today.
Yeah, I was rewatching that wreck, and I saw Dylan Basin get into contact with the 47 of JJ Hill, who was also involved in another incident early in the race, and pretty much for the 08, just like I said, insult to injury. You know, you just get out of the pits with the damage after wrecking out due to a hardware issue, and then as soon as that happens, you get involved in another wreck as soon as you exit turn 4. So not what you want to see for Dylan Basin, not the night he wants whatsoever. But the night that it certainly is looking good right now for one driver, it's Hunter Johnson, definitely. He is in the key spot right now to win this championship if it were to end right here and if the field were to be frozen as it stands. Sartaj, again, he needs Hunter to basically make a mistake and put himself all the way back to this field, either get involved in a wreck or what have you. But Sartaj, just all he needs to do is just try to win this race as best as he can. And he needs to hope that Hunter Johnson at least gets into some bit of trouble, because those points can really stack up as soon as one driver gets into issues. And like we've seen so far with the 48 of Michael Bianchini, he's been involved in the back. He's been involved in some incidents, and he's pretty much had to scramble his way around the track to get around some of those drivers, as we saw him trying to squeeze the gap between Ryan Kendrick and the outside wall. Zeke, I know if you remember this, my first commentating here in iSCAR at Rockingham, where I said hole in the wall. I made a hole in the wall reference of drivers just scramming through a driver to get through the wall. That's exactly what Michael Bianchini did right there.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, he made contact with it, so I guess you can say he failed the challenge, unfortunately. But for Bianchini in that 48, he's still sitting back there, looks like, all the way back, and that's 31st. So you see pitting here at Charlotte is just non-beneficial for that number 48. Not only that, he's been involved in a couple of incidents already. So track key just being textbook here at Charlotte and how it goes around. But for these drivers up front of Dominic Howe, Hunter Johnson, Sartaj Mon, they're in great shape to maybe cap off this race up top. But we have a bigger picture to also view out as Hunter Johnson in the number 12, as you see Dylan Basin just sort of
is in the barrel.
Yeah, that's right. That gives me a bit of PTSD.
That's probably going to be the last straw for Dylan Basin. And of course, yeah, a person that shall remain nameless that is currently in this booth, of course, has hit the barrels at Charlotte just like that. I think I have an idea of who it is, but
I wonder who.
Yeah, we don't talk about that, but yeah, I mean, only 18 laps to go. Time is running out for the 49 of Sartaj Mon to try and get this championship. And the unfortunate part for him is he's doing everything he possibly can. He's sitting in 3rd place, which if you're in the championship hunt, puts you in a great spot, except for the fact that the guy he's trying to beat for the championship is right in front of him in 2nd place. So Sartaj has done a great job tonight of putting himself in a position to get the best finish he can to try and get as many points as he can. But unless Hunter Johnson in front of him has a problem and slips back, 25th or so or farther back, Sartaj's effort's going to come up short tonight.
Tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it didn't even matter for Sartaj Mon in that number 49. He could finish second, but unfortunately, if Hunter Johnson finishes in front of him, he'll obviously win the championship. But even if Hunter finishes like only 10 behind Sartaj, he can still win the championship that way. So I'm not sure how this restart's going to go, since Hunter Johnson's starting on that high side. He'll need a bit of boost from a car right behind to get himself in line right behind that number 58 of Dominic Howe. So for that 12, Hunter Johnson, he has a bit of worrying to do on how this restart's going to go. As you see, he's a couple of drivers taking the makeshift KRA chicane.
Oh, no. No.
Underground reference right there.
They did the funny.
Yeah, underground reference.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. That's cursed. That's a cursed series that we don't talk about here. That's illegal. But still a series. It was a time, but the time right now is, 10:50 p.m. on the East Coast, and we're getting ready to go green here with 17 laps to go, and Dominic Howe still your leader. Hunter Johnson second, Sartajman third, Dylan Alt fourth, Charlie Byer in fifth, and you mentioned him on the last restart. Peter Kenny is up into sixth place. He's had a knack for getting up there very quietly and surprising people with great finishes, especially with that super speedway win he picked up at Talladega around a month and a half ago. So don't count out that 62 as this race winds down.
That's right. Peter won at the Bronze Series at Daytona, I think season 1 or 2, I'm not really sure, but Peter also won the Talladega Super Speedway Series, his Xfinity Series last season. Pace car dives itself on the pit road. Green flag is out, and looks like Sartaj does not get going. This will allow Hunter to slot himself to the inside, but he's going to stay in line, maybe get a push from the 65 of Dylan Alt. Maybe Hunter wants to make that pass for the lead, but they're jamming up really hard right behind. Somebody missed the shift, and they're starting to stack up. Peter's on the wall.
Whoa! That was super close, but that's going to drop Peter Kenny all the way to the back, and I think we might have to count him out now, unfortunately.
Caution.
Somebody's in the wall back there, but not shown on the screen. Looks like William Schmidt and Jeremiah Bethune. He's had a rough night tonight. That's, I think, the third wreck he's been involved in. And there's a red car there as well. That might be Cole Williams again. Looks like Bethune got turned by Kendrick there. We'll get another look here into turn 1.
Yeah, here's the replay, and as soon as we saw Peter Kenny go up into the outside wall, I saw this happen, and the 50 got some help from the 00. They stacked up with the 48 as well, and then the 50 goes around, tries to keep it straight, and then I see one driver just pile into him. But
yeah, I think Bethune may have missed a shift here because Kendrick and Bianchini were both coming up on him really fast. Either that or the engine damage that he might have, and that's J.J. Hill, not Cole Williams, so 47 finally gets back on track and then immediately gets involved in a wreck. So that, I mean, not a night to remember there for the 47 to J.J. Hill. But right here, I think either a missed shift or perhaps some existing engine damage contributed to that.
Yeah, washed up the racetrack a bit. Michael was just a full-on cloud trying to push the 00 to get himself all situated and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it resulted in a stack-up event and a wreck, so everybody slows it down back to pace car speed. We're going to see a replay of also what happened to Peter Kenny in that number 62. You saw on the restart, people missing shifts. You have to use the clutch in this car, and that number 62 missed it, and the 37 of Glenn Bunger plowed into the backside of that number 62. You'll see it right here, right there, is when he tried to shift into fourth, but unfortunately Peter missed it, and he tried to get it back going. You have to clock I wouldn't say clock. You have to pull a couple of times to get into fourth, and unfortunately Peter didn't get into fourth in time. And he missed the shift, and Glenn had a full head of speed coming in and nowhere to go. He piles into the backside of them, and Peter goes into the wall after he gets bumped by Frimpong in the 10. And good job by Peter for staying up on the high side.
It's a tough break for him nonetheless, though. Of course, he just restarted in 6th, and now he's probably going to restart somewhere in the 20s. So a good run for him gone south quickly, but still a little bit of time left. Perhaps he could make some of that ground up, but in terms of getting back up to 6, that's a tall task for that 62 now.
yeah, it is, and he was just running so well up into 6th, and he was pretty much consistently staying up there. He was trying to work himself to the inside, and like you mentioned, Zeke, it is pretty hard to get from 3rd to 4th in these cars. It's a little bit of a struggle sometimes, especially if you have a manual clutch, and if you, let's say, just use a button as opposed to maybe if you don't have an actual clutch pedal, that could prevent some drivers from getting into the gear efficiently, and then that's exactly what happened with Peter Kenny. Did not get into the gear in the right time, and then of course everyone behind them just has to check up, and Glenn Bungen unfortunately got into him. I saw Mark Frimpong also get a piece of the back bumper as well, so damage for both of them. I don't think that'll affect them too heavily, but we'll just have to see how that works through. But just a reminder that iSCAR Championship Week continues to work through here in Summer Series, the second Summer Series. Tomorrow we have the iSCAR Tolsma Designs Modified Tour from New Hampshire. That'll be their finale over there, and then goes Friday, the Trade Shuttlesworth IndyCar Series. from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. That'll be on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, the Corey Hart's Media Super Speedway Challenge from Talladega Super Speedway using the NASCAR Cup Series cars. That'll be on Saturday, and then Sunday ends out the week of the Summer Series with the Yost Auto Sales Legend Series from North Wilkesboro. So if you want to catch more championship action and championship battles down the line and down this week, there will certainly not be a shortage of it. Of course, all those times will be 9 p.m. Eastern right here on MaxspeedTV. So lots of fun to watch. Championship week is always a lot of fun to watch because there's always so many different battles and even some drivers in these series that transfer into championships into other series. And it's a lot of fun to see how those pretty much work out in different cars, just different disciplines. It's always a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, of course, the modified tour race tomorrow night. Aaron Mulrooney with a 15-point lead on Hunter Johnson. So Hunter's going to go from leading the championship by a comfortable margin here tonight to being down for the championship by a comfortable margin tomorrow night. So we'll have to see what Hunter can do tomorrow night at New Hampshire. And a similar situation with him as we saw with Bianchini tonight. For him to win the modified championship, the modifieds have been the races in part 2 with the fewest car counts. So if we get, I think, less than 15 people tomorrow night, there's no way Hunter can win the championship. And we saw that with Bianchini earlier. He needed a full field to win, but with all these people retired, no longer possible. Modifieds are, I think New Hampshire is one of the coolest tracks the modifieds go to. Of course, a lot of people aren't necessarily a fan of New Hampshire for the National Series, but if you're ever up at New Hampshire and there's a modified race there, I definitely recommend you watch it because it's some of the best racing you'll ever see in person.
That's right, and it's a similar type of racing that we see here too. On the real life side of things, they were the first series to run restrictor plates on those vehicles at New Hampshire because they were going too fast, limited horsepower and such like that, and in result, it started pack racing at a flat 1 mile racetrack, which is a combination you would never thought would be possible. Pack racing on a 1 mile racetrack that's flat and such like that, but those cars and that racing, it just offers, as you said, one of the most fantastic type of racing I've ever seen in the NASCAR spectrum. It's really fun to watch. I've seen a couple of races. I watched them back on YouTube and such. Man, it's just I can't even explain it.
Yeah, the modifieds are honestly, I mean, of course they're sometimes overlooked because they're not a National Series sanctioned car, but man, those cars are some of the best cars to watch in person. I've been to a couple of them up there at Loudon, and it's some of the best experience for a race I've ever had. So again, if you're ever up there, really at any track that has modifieds, definitely check it out because you will not regret it. And we'll have that for you tomorrow night. We're not sure if that'll be on MSTV yet or KMN. That'll be determined tomorrow. But every other series should be on MSTV this weekend, including, of course, this race tonight. And we're going to be going green, looks like with 9 to go. So again, time's running out for that 49. And again, like I said earlier, he's done everything he can to put himself in a position to have a good finish, to do his part. But again, he really needs Hunter to have a misfortune here and go way, way back in the field for him to win this championship.
Interesting call by the admins to make it single file, so that number 58, Dominic Cow, will have an even bigger advantage as the leader. He's not going to be starting side by side with anybody. All he has to do is just jam on the throttle and up and away he goes. But he can't get too good of a restart or else he'll just get swamped coming onto the back straightaway or into number 3. So with the single file restart, it's going to change the pace a bit. I wouldn't expect a bigger pack as we progress through these final 10 laps. But in the meantime, we take the green either way, up and away we go. And cars now get up to speed, and toward the back, you see Christopher Weil and Austin Johnson, both of them scrambling for all sorts of position, but unfortunately nobody budges. And I think with a single file restart, I'm expecting a different kind of pace here as Hunter closes the gap on the number 58.
And down the backstretch they go. Dominic still out front. Looks like Sartaj is going to peek the nose underneath the 12 of Hunter Johnson. That's for second place. So Sartaj, again, doing everything he can to get as many positions on the track as possible. But even if he gets by Hunter, again, that will not be enough to put him in the
All right, man,
championship
caution is
seat.
out. Caution
And
is
again,
out.
that 12 needs to pretty much go all the way to the back. And speaking of going to the back, a couple of people just did, as we do have a caution here. Looks like Ryan Barry and James Youngman, the cars involved, out of turn 4.
I was just about to mention that the pace certainly did change with this last restart in the single file, because there was way more separation, just like we saw in the beginning portion of this race. Here's the replay of what just caused this recent caution. Contact between the 59 of Ryan Barry, sending the 80 of James Youngman around, and then the grass just helps the 59 go back around as well. Those two were the only cars in that incident. Luckily, no one else involved. And another yellow here just with 9 laps to go. And Sartaj made that pass on Hunter Johnson. That was very interesting to see over the course of that run. So we'll just have to see what happens from this caution here on out onto the next restart, or whether we'll see another single file start from the admins. But boy, lots of cautions plaguing this one again.
Yeah, and something to note, Sartaj Mon was ahead of Hunter Johnson before the caution came out. So that could be an interesting factor here on the next restart, which should probably be, I think, with either 4 or 5 laps to go. So Sartaj, of course, won last week at Bristol to lessen the gap between himself and Hunter Johnson. So now he's going to be starting ahead of him on this restart. So at this point, Sartaj is doing everything he can to get up there. I don't know where Dominic Howe just went, but if he's no longer the leader, I don't know what he's doing. But if he's not, there he is, just messing around, I guess. But now that Sartaj is ahead of Hunter, he can try and focus on maybe passing Dominic for the win rather than trying to get by Hunter. But at this point, Sartaj has done everything he possibly can to make up the ground in the point standings. So at this point, with only 8 laps to go currently, he's going to need Hunter Johnson to have a big problem and send him probably at least 20th or back in the results. So it's no longer really in his hands anymore.
I don't know how this is all going to shape out for Sartaj for Hunter to have a mistake, but the only real way I see Sartaj having a shot is he has to get in line ASAP. I don't know if it's going to be a single file restart or not.
I would imagine it is.
It probably is, but it didn't change the pace.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah, it really didn't change the pace of how cautions are going.
not
Might as well
really.
double them up again, so.
We'll see. That'll give an advantage to Hunter, I think. But
Yeah.
regardless, though, again, I've already said it multiple times, but, you know, this championship is not in Sartaj Mon's hands. What happens to Hunter is not in Sartaj's control. The only thing Sartaj can control is where he finishes on the track, and if these results hold up, that's a runner-up finish the week after winning. So even if he doesn't win this championship, a first and a second is a great way to cap off a season.
And just like I mentioned with Michael Bianchini, just like the 48, the 49 has to keep his fingers crossed. He just has to hope that something happens to that 12 so that Sartaj has enough points on his belt, under his belt, to take that championship away in these waning laps of this race. But it's looking very slim for that 49. Of course, it's still in the realm of possibilities, but you have to just keep praying and hoping that something happens with that 12 of Hunter Johnson so that the 49 can secure his championship this season. It's all dependent on what's happening within this next restart, and if we go double file, that will give the advantage to the 12. He'll be all the way at the bottom, and the 49 really has to get down there quick, or else he will fall lots of positions that could further hurt his chances of winning a championship. But he just has to hold on to what he has right now and try to finish the best way he can, and even try to go out for a win in this final race.
I do have a bit of insight on admins and stuff like that, so it will be a double file restart for the next one, so give the advantage to that number 12, Hunter Johnson, unless he gets a bad restart. So it's all going to come down to this restart, because I'm expecting this thing to go from green all the... I mean, I expect like one more caution, but this restart is probably going to determine how this championship outlook's going to go. If Hunter makes a mistake and falls back into third, Sertaj is going to be second place, and obviously it's not going to be enough. Hunter's going to have to work himself. I mean, going to have to drop a lot of positions for Sertaj to win the championship, but who knows? Once Hunter's in third, they might wreck up front. I'm not sure. Dominic Howe is trying to win his fend off for his first win in years. Sertaj trying to go 2 in a row. Hunter trying to go for another championship. There's all sorts of scenarios. Everybody with different mentalities coming in here for these final 5 laps, maybe 4 laps, once we take the one to green.
Speaking of taking the green, I would assume we're going to get the one to go here, which if we do, would put us with 4 laps to go. So if another caution comes out at this point, we'll go into green-white checkered territory, and of course, we have 3 of those, so we could potentially run, you know, at least 10 or 12 more laps tonight if we do exhaust all 3 of their green-white checkered attempts. So 4, of course, 4 at a minimum, perhaps 12 or 14 or something at the max, but for Hunter Johnson, he's wanting it to just be 4 laps, because for right now, he's 4 laps away, and I
What are they doing back here?
I don't know what they're doing back there, but I just went through the Dan Lisa. If Hunter Johnson and Frimpong and Austin Johnson are, I don't know what in the world this was. That's odd. So Frimpong and Austin Johnson, Liam Sheen gets damaged, DiMaggio plows into him. So 3 or 4 people all just got damaged. We'll have to check back up at the front and see if that added another caution lap or not. It looks like it didn't. But what I was saying, I went through all the Dan Lisas of the previous Street Stock seasons. If Hunter holds on tonight, this will be his 4th Street Stock Championship out of the 10 seasons we've run.
That's a ridiculous stat.
I don't know, it goes to show you how dominant he's been. Of course, he's the all-time leading winner here in iSCAR, and if he wins tonight, I think he might become the all-time championship leader as well, of course. I believe he has at least 1 championship in another series as well, but again, this will be his 4th here in Street Stocks. If he holds on, 4 laps to go to determine Season 10's Street Stock champion.
They're starting to stack up double file. Some cars sweeping to the inside. I think that was Liam Sheen who gunned for a holder 3 wide into 1. Probably going to cause a wreck between Peter and Kenny, but no, it doesn't. Very surprised about that, considering how this race is going. But meanwhile, up front, Hunter Johnson has cleared out Sertaj Bond, who's stuck on that high side. But Sertaj has help, and Hunter to the high side now. Now, can Sertaj scoot himself back in line to the low side? Looks like no. And we're side by side, 2 by 2. This is the closest this whole field has been. And oh boy, it's closing time here as we cross the line, 3 laps to go.
And this is the first time we're seeing that outside line really get help from any driver, really. We've only seen max 2 drivers to be on the outside, and they really got freight trained by everyone through the bottom. But now Johnson is going to try to get the help from his fellow championship competitor. And now with Dominic Howe to the high side, they're going to try to make things work. As now Dylan, oh, they got a wreck. Garrett heads to the inside wall, and hard contact.
Ryan Kendrick just got destroyed.
Caution is out once again.
As soon as Garrett hit that inside wall, I knew that was going to be big trouble. And man, did Ryan Kendrick hit him. And we'll have to see if somebody went over the wall, because it's entirely possible someone did. And man, hit that opening and just shot right up the track into that 0-0. Who's flipping into turn 3 and multiple other cars involved. Yeah, as soon as he spun there, that was going to be bad. And right there, Kendrick with a huge ride there. More people go around into turn 3. That's Nick Miller for, I think, the 3rd time tonight, and someone else. But, man, that's the worst place that you could hit at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Garrett Hess has just done that. And that's Michael DiMaggio, the other car, with damage. So this will put us into green-white checkered number 1 out of up to 3.
Ouch.
That was bad.
It's been a while since I've seen a hit like that, but man, Hess just murdered that safer barrier.
More like the barrier murdered him. But
it's ironic because it's called a safer barrier, but
that is not a safer place to hit the wall, though.
No way.
I mean, we've run a lot of iSCAR races at Charlotte, and I honestly can't remember the last time in an iSCAR event that a car hit the wall there, because, again, that's the absolute worst place you could hit the wall. at Charlotte, and I guess the opposite of brownie points to Garrett Hess for doing that, but he got tagged. I think there was contact between, I want to say, Kyler Wynn and Mark Frimpong, and he got ping-ponged into and got sent down. We'll have to get a look and see what triggered that. Of course, we got the look at the hit with Kendrick, but there was definitely contact between Frimpong and Kyler Wynn here. Right
Seems like
there.
a stack-up effect. I'm not really sure. Sertaj is trying to push Hunter, and I'm not
Yeah,
sure
right
if
here.
Sertaj got out of line. He got out of line right there. You see the bump.
Yeah, it was a bumper grab, and then Frimpong had a bit of a run, and then just got ping-ponged down into Hess, and man, Ryan Kendrick absolutely flew into turn 3. But you see that gap in the catch fence?
Frimpong got DQ'd, by the way.
Yeah, he's been involved in a couple incidents, and that's unfortunately not surprising, but yeah, you saw that catch fence gap right up here into turn 3. That's why I thought Ryan Kendrick could have potentially gone out of the track, because he flew really close to where that catch fence opening is, but that I don't think we've ever seen in iSCAR either, but that might be the closest we've seen to it.
That's interesting at Charlotte why they don't have catch fences entering turn number 3. It's the only track. It used to be Michigan, which had no fences, but it's the only
Pocono
track.
didn't for a while either.
Yeah, that's right, on the backstretch, and I mean, somebody's
Casey Kane hit the
nearly went
trees.
over the fence. Yeah, that's right, Casey Kane.
That was a crazy wreck too, but yeah, of course, there was 2010, I believe it was the last year Casey Kane was in the 9 car, and he got turned down the backstretch, and the rear of his car hit the trees. So Pocono's definitely seen its version of weird and intense wrecks. Of course, remember Elliott Sadler also in 2010 when the engine flew out of his car. Of course, we've never seen a good angle of that. Maybe someday, but that is definitely Charlotte's version of a quirky place to wreck. And for Garrett Hess and Ryan Kendrick, they have experienced that firsthand here tonight. So once again, this will put us in our first green-white checkered attempt, and if we get a caution before the white flag, they'll line them up and do it again for attempt number 2. But if we make it to the white flag, that's the race, and there will be no more cautions. So if we make it to the white flag, it's all out to the checkered flag. So for Hunter Johnson, I'm sure he just wants to get this over with as soon as possible, because he's mere minutes away from his 4th Street Stock Championship. And at this point, all this is doing is just opening up possibilities for something to go wrong. And we've seen it happen before. You mentioned Charlie Byer blowing up at Homestead while in the Final 4. So with these extra green-white checkered attempts, all this does is open up a possibility for something big to go wrong with Hunter Johnson. And if something were to, that would be the opportunity for Sertaj Mahon to swoop in and steal the championship away.
Yeah.
And what I'm curious about is just whether they're able to maximize all 3 of these green-white checkers, because now that this is out, you have 3 laps to go, especially with the drivers who are in the midfield, and maybe some drivers up front, much like Dylan Altz, Charlie Byer, and Christopher Weil, who's been up there in the top 10, Joe Berge now in this top 10, Hunter Rupp, Sheen, Kenny, and the likes of which that are behind them. I want to know I'm very curious to see whether those drivers will start to make more risky moves, much like how Hunter Johnson and everyone else went to the high side to try to make a move, or maybe we might see some more contact, or whether we'll see cautions breed more cautions, and whether we'll see this race pretty much go all the way to a 3rd green-white checkered. But I mean, like we've seen with the trends with this race, I'm pretty sure that it might happen again, but I'm very curious to see whether those drivers are willing to put it all on the line, even for position.
I think you have to. It matters about how you set yourself up for that final lap, because once that white flag starts waving, all bets are off. We've seen it last time here before. Last lap passes, a big wreck at the end. I mean, it's not just... Usually on classic super speedways, it's a sprint off of turn number 4. We've seen a huge wreck coming to the start-finish line, which stalled Dominic Howe from a win. He slapped the wall in such a weird angle. His car stalled mid-air rather than flying himself across the start-finish line. So if you hit the wall at a bad angle coming to the start-finish line, mere feet could cost you the win. So Dominic Howe trying to get redemption from what happened a couple seasons ago. Hopefully he could get it done here tonight, but mere feet can change this outlook. And for that number 58 to Dominic Howe, He has to counter what he did last time to keep himself up front. Now we're double wide. And we also have a situation with the number 12 and 49. They are both bumper to bumper, so I think Sertaj is going to do whatever the hell he can to get around that number 12.
I think they all are. By the way, how long was I muted for?
I have no idea.
I just realized I was muted, but a bit of a side note and a bit of a shout out before this race concludes. The number 9 of Nick Miller, of course, he's been in a couple wrecks tonight, currently in 22nd, but that man had his 4 wisdom teeth pulled out earlier today. His mouth probably hurts really freaking bad right now. I know it firsthand because I got mine pulled out 3 years ago. So shout out to Nick Miller for racing after being put under anesthesia earlier and getting his teeth yanked. So, I mean, I know for a fact that if I died racing 3 years ago, I would not have raced the night I got my wisdom teeth pulled. But props to Nick for dragging himself here and showing up and currently running in the top 25, which, after being put under anesthesia and being a bit groggy for a while, is not too bad, all things considered. But we are back underway here for green-white checkered number 1. 2 laps to go here in season number 10.
They all bolster themselves into turn number 1, side by side for that second position. A bit of a gap between Sertaj and Hunter. But Hunter is going to push that number 58 and Dominic to the front with 3 wide right behind. I don't think that might be a catalyst for a wreck. They're really fanning themselves right in the back. Still 3 wide as now we have 2 separate packs. And the top 3 are all single file. Never mind that. The 12 goes to the high side.
And they were almost 3 wide at turn 3. They're going to be 3 wide here. This is the chance for something to go wrong for Hunter Johnson. There goes Hunter up out of turn 4. Will this be a caution? They're coming to the line. Peter Kenny's to the wall. That is a caution. We will have another green-white checker, and that's a huge wreck. Schmidt, Bethune again. Bianchini's in there. Somebody just went upside down at the finish line.
2 of them.
And we were almost, and that was disaster averted for Hunter Johnson because they were 3 wide out of turn 4, and I thought he was going to get hooked right there, but unfortunately somebody else did, and that results in William Schmidt going upside down.
Oh boy, that was so tough and so close for Dominic Howe, who was right to that start-finish line, and probably good news for the 49 of Sertaj Mon because then Hunter would be losing spots on that outside lane all by himself. That must suck to see, and we'll try to get another look. There is the start of the incident.
At the same time.
Yeah, we saw the first one with Hunter up, and then we just saw this second one.
I think Hunter ended up in the barrels. I think Hunter
wreck. The 9 goes around.
Yeah, there were 3 different wrecks at the same time, right here. I think Juan and Miller. Oh, Nick spun on his own, I think.
That's
trying
weird.
to miss it.
That looked like it would be netcode. So it's a netcode incident between, I think, Juan and Miller. You see them 3 wide. Looks like the 38 of, I think that's my hand, who got turned.
Yeah, it's Austin Johnson, Bianchini, Bachman. But again, up before this, there was another wreck as well. There's Peter Kenny. Hunter up chops Peter Kenny here out of turn 4. You'll see it in a second. Peter gets a nice run here on the bottom, and Hunter unfortunately just comes down, and Hunter ends up right here, right into the barrel.
Oh yeah, he did hit the barrels. You were right.
Yeah, he got stuck in the barrels. This was 2 separate wrecks at the same time. They're wrecking in the back right now in the background, but Hunter wrecked right before them into the barrels. There's Nick. So this was 2 wrecks that really turned into 1. Glenn Bundren also involved, and then right here, Schmidt goes upside down. I think Bundren also did. Actually, Klein went upside down. So they're all. That's the thing about Charlotte. When you wreck down into turn 4 and you slide through the grass like that, you're gonna come up into the whole field, and we've seen it multiple times in the All-Star race, and we see it right here where the track just gets clogged, and everybody just gets caught. And I don't know what to say about that, but the rest of it we got. But that's something. That was a glitch flip that sent Ryan over as well. So that's like, I think 7 and 8 tonight. But yeah, in a situation like that, just nowhere to go at that point.
That took a lot of people out, as in a lot of people out. Now we're down to, looks like 20 cars on this lead lap. Might make it like 19 or 18, so more than half the field is now eliminated. So the chance of Sertaj winning this championship has really shrunk. So if Sertaj finishes where he is, he needs to finish 17 spots. Or is it 17 spots? I think it is 17 spots ahead of that number 12, Hunter Johnson. So
Yeah, Sertaj came into tonight 16 points behind Hunter Johnson. And of course, Hunter did not get the bonus point for the pole because the pole went to Michael Bianchini in the 48. So Hunter, I don't think, has any bonus points tonight, which of course is an advantage to Sertaj. However, again, with only 2 laps to go, literally the only way Sertaj wins this title is if he stays up there in second place and Hunter gets turned or his internet craps itself or something. But we've talked about it a couple times. Again, nothing Sertaj can do at this point except stay where he is and get the best finish he possibly can and try to let the other cards fall into place. But how about that 83 of Joe Burgee? I don't want a commentator jinx him again, but we haven't talked about him at all tonight. I see Hunter still sitting in the barrels. But we haven't talked about Joe Burgee at all tonight, and he's made his way up into 5th place. If those leaders have trouble, is this finally the night where Joe Burgee could potentially win his first race?
I think Hunter might be wanting to get a good view of these final laps as off of turn 4. Right flag and go all the way to the checkered. But Sertaj, you just have to continue running the race you are, and I believe we're going to go double file here once again, so he'll have the outside, and we'll see whether they spread out enough so that the 49 can dip back to the low side to that white, blue, and white line and try to defend his position, at least from where he stands right now. He really has to pray that, and continue to pray that Hunter Johnson has something miraculously go wrong. But now that you mentioned, Zeke, so many drivers getting taken out, pretty much half the field is pretty much gone. We have pretty much 20 cars on this lead lap, so that's almost pretty much more than half the field under a lap. So still some chance for Sertaj to make something happen out of this, but it is not looking good for him right now.
I mean, if Hunter gets turned coming to the wire and it does put him in last place, 1 lap down or at the tail end of the lead lap, who knows? If Sertaj finishes where he is and Hunter gets dead last on the lead lap, Hunter will finish 20th at most, and Sertaj will finish, I guess, 2nd. If we go off of that scenario, Sertaj will come out as champion. So it's still up there. The chance is still up there for Sertaj to make something happen. But, I mean, you don't want to back yourself 1 spot just to mess around with Hunter and make something screwy.
Yeah, that would still be a pretty crappy way to win a championship. Again, if the leader gets turned like that. But yeah, this is green-white checkered number 2, so this will either be the last 2 laps or we'll line them up and do it one more time. But Dominic Howe has led a ton of this race tonight, and he's trying to erase his bad memory of being turned right before the finish line and losing a win there. Of course, he mentioned that earlier, and Dallas Myhand walked away with that victory. So Dominic trying to turn the page here in the Street Stock Series at Charlotte and pick up a win here tonight. Dylan Alt's been up there all night, qualified in the top 5s, run top 5 all night long. Hunter Johnson run top 5 all night long. Sertaj top 5 all night long. Those cars from 1st to 4th have been the most consistent people all night tonight. And you just had the ticker there for Matthew Klein, currently in 13th. That's a solid night for him too. But looks like he'll round out 5th in points with Dominic currently leading. So again, with these guys up at the front have done a great job as well. But again, another shout out to Matthew for a really great underdog season.
He might finish top 5 in points. I'm not really sure. But
He's guaranteed. He's guaranteed to with Andy already out of the race.
That's right. So here we go. We get ourselves set for the green flag. Pace car is in what hopefully will be the final restart of the day. They're starting to stack up right behind. James runs to the backside of Liam. Their green flag is out, though. And look at the jumping right behind. They're fanning 3 wide at the start-finish line. Some car does not have a front end. They're going to wreck, though.
Oh, there they go. That's a black and white car. I'm not sure who that is. That's the 4th or 5th wreck that Bethune's been in tonight. We stay green out of turn 2. Hunter on the bottom, Sertaj on the top. Dominic Howe still leading the race. Time is running out for Sertaj to do anything, but again, he needs help for Hunter to have a problem. Here comes Burgee on the inside. He's up to 3rd place. He's got a blinking problem, though. That could be a problem here coming in these last couple laps. But out of turn 4, Whoa, that was a close call. The white flag is out here at Charlotte. Look at Hunter making a move to the outside for the race lead.
Hunter Johnson trying to make things work. Now there's help from the outside with his fellow championship competitor and Charlie Beyer trying to make things work. Charlie fouls back to the bottom and Berge to the bottom of Dominic Howell. So close off turn 2.
They work down the back straightaway. All trying to fan it 3 wide. He squeezes the middle, and that'll help the outside line. Now Berge out of nowhere into the mix. Looks like all gets closed on side by side.
Hunter on the outside.
Might lose it for a second time in a row.
Berge
goes around.
There goes Berge around on his own. Out of turn 4, 3 wide. Who will take the win here at Charlotte? It's going to be...
Oh, I don't know.
Who got that?
I have no idea.
Who just got...
It's Hunter.
Hunter's your champion. Hunter Johnson, your season 10 Street Stock Tour champion, his 4th Street Stock championship in a really close finish, and I'm gutted for Dominic Howell, but what a great job by Hunter Johnson. Made that great move on the last lap and scored himself the victory and the championship. What a run.
They were 3 wide. They were 3 wide at the line. We have never seen that. And
that was awesome.
They were, oh
that
my
was
goodness,
awesome.
That was amazing. We'll get another replay at it again as we're going to see Hunter Johnson do burnouts. Very, very deserving. I mean, that was an unbelievable move by Hunter Johnson. But not only is he in victory lane here tonight, he's your champion, and he's picking up some cash here tonight. Hunter Johnson rounds himself up top. Congratulations to him.
Unbelievable performance. I can't believe they were 3 wide at the line. Sartaj tried to do everything on the bottom, and so close. That might have been one of the closest finishes we've ever seen from iSCAR. Boy, that was right there by just an inch there. But that capitalizes another great season for Hunter Johnson at 12 machine. Showed himself as a street stock dominator in the past couple of seasons. Season 10, no different. Once again, a champion. What a great performance.
Got another replay at it again as you see them fan 3 wide. I think that really stalled that inside line. Berge's trying to push all he can, Dominic Howell.
And Berge got loose, I think, right up here. You see,
right over. He got tight actually, and he doored the 45. Yeah. I mean,
Wild got lucky that he neck coated through him, but right here, Sartaj makes that big move to the bottom. Just no racetrack to do it, and Hunter by that much takes the race victory. You know, of course, I think that was the only lap Hunter led all race. And it happened to be the last one. He ran as clean of a race as you could for the championship leader, and Sartaj Maan ran the best race he possibly could have run as well, but just unfortunately came up too short for that 49. But what a run for Sartaj as well, of course, to get 2nd in points and a 1st and a 3rd to wrap up his season. That's got to be still a big momentum booster for him going into the Winter Series coming up. But what a finish, man. 14/100ths of a second. That is the difference, and unfortunately for Dominic Howell, he comes up just short here at Charlotte again.
That's the 2nd time in a row. It's reminiscent of what happened a couple races ago, but fortunately he didn't wreck it across the start-finish line, but he still lost the race, unfortunately. He has to feel sour for that number 58 of Dominic Howell. He led so much of that final portion of that race, but Hunter Johnson just coming in so clutch. We've seen him do it so many times. That number 12 of Hunter Johnson, not only coming out up top, he comes out as your season champion here tonight. We're going to go ahead and fan ourselves the results after 61 laps of racing. Hunter Johnson rounds himself up top, your champion here tonight in the season 10 of Street Stocks. Dominic Howell in 2nd place, Sartaj Maan in 3rd, Dylan Alt in 4th, Christopher Weil in 5th, Charlie Beyer in 6th, Kyler Wynn in 7th, Bridger Olsen in 8th, David Bachman. How about that? Top 10 run.
Yeah, Bachman was involved in a couple incidents tonight, but rounds himself out in 10th. Jake Corwin with a great run for him in 11th. Matthew Klein with a great run as well in 12th, so he'll finish himself 5th in points, which in itself is a great accomplishment for him. Dallas Myhand ends up 13th. Joe Berge was 3rd going into turn number 3, but unfortunately got tight and spun. He'll end up 14th. Cole Williams was the first flip of the night. He keeps it on the track and keeps trying to get up positions, and that got him a top 15, so a good run for him as well. Peter Kenny in 16th, James Youngman in 17th. Jeremiah Bethune was involved in quite a few wrecks tonight, but hangs on for 18th, last car lead lap. Nick Miller and Michael Bianchini. Wisdom Tooth Boy in third in points come out 19th and 20th.
And after the halfway point of this field, then goes William Schmidt to 79, finishes 2 laps down along with Michael DiMaggio, 21st, 22nd, then Glenn Bungeon, 23rd. Hunter Rupp, who went into the pit road attenuators, he finishes 24th. Austin Johnson, 25th. Ryan Kwan, 26th. Mark Frimpong starts the drivers 14 laps down with Garrett Hess and Ryan Kendrick involved in some unfortunate incidents, as well as Ryan Berry. He finishes inside the top 30.
Rest of the order is going to be shown on your screen, 31st through 43rd. Keelan Belsha, DNF. Mitch Hobbs, he too DNF'd. All these drivers listed on the front of your screen are actually all DNFs as well. Dylan Basin, Alex K. Goretz, JJ Hill, Justin Johnson, Shane Demantova, Zoltan Herzeg, which we really haven't seen his face in this whole entire race, so it looks like he disconnected early. Eric Heeren, the number 09, was involved in an early wreck. Dane Cruz as well went flipping into number 4 in the 41st and through 43rd. Casey Drake, Andy McDowell, and Blaze McKinney with looks like connection issues on that. That'll be the whole entire order after 61 laps of racing here. Rather going into commercial, we can't because my ATVO is not ATVO, but my thing is sort of semi-broken. We're not going to talk about that as much.
Your thing is a bad thing.
Yeah, it's bad. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get situated with our interviews here for tonight. We're going to go ahead and move ourselves into the iSCAR broadcast booth, QQ, and go ahead and slide into the booth, that number 12 of Hunter Johnson into the booth. Not only that, coming out up top after a clutch move off of turn number 4, but man, Hunter, congratulations, dude. You're a champion. You're in iSCAR yet again.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't know. I thought when Sartaj went to the low side off 4, I thought he was gonna give Dom a push and I was gonna lose it right there. But I didn't know if I was gonna get it coming to the line. That was really close. But it kind of feels good after losing by I think about that much in the Super Speedway Series race last week. So yeah, it feels really good. Yeah, I was just going into tonight, just didn't want to, have anything terrible happen. Just at least finish within the top 10, so that I'd guarantee that at least I'd win the championship. So we got way more than that tonight. So that's awesome. Got to give props to Sartaj though for hanging in there. I mean, I'd pretty much like the first half of the season, I had pretty much done everything, at least in my ability, to make it as hard as possible, and even still, he presented a threat going into tonight. So that's pretty impressive. But yeah, that it just feels great.
That's right, Hunter. Coming out not only as champion, you've won a championship in this league, in this series for the 4th time, and you're crowning yourself yet again up top. How does it feel, especially walking away with a bit of cash this time?
Yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully I can do it again on Sunday. I'm heading up to New Hampshire this weekend, so it might be close making it back. But if I can make it to the race, I'll be trying to go for 2.
Well, speaking of going up to New Hampshire, the modifieds are racing tomorrow night. Of course, you need at least 15 people or 16 people to show up to have a chance at the title. But even if you don't, man, what's your outlook going into tomorrow night's race?
Tomorrow is just gonna be. I'd have to have. I'm not gonna worry too much about having everything go right. It'll happen if it happens. But I kind of ruined my chances at South Boston, so I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Just gonna go in and try and win the race. But yeah, if it doesn't turn out the way that or if I can't get everything to go right, then Aaron definitely deserves the championship. So that's fine. That I 2 is if I can even get 2, that's way more than I could have possibly asked for.
That's right, Hunter Johnson coming out up top, not only coming up top in the race, but as your season 10 champion. Man, Hunter, I know you've been running this league ever since day number 1, of course, in the first seasons of Street Stocks. You've come a long way, of course, coming up to this point. How can you reflect off of your performance here tonight?
Uh, yeah. I mean, from the first season, I was I saw guys like Logan, obviously, but then like Zach Corbett, Michael, all those other guys who I had a hard time keeping up with in the first couple seasons. I wanted to try and improve the best that I could to be able to run with them. And I feel like I've definitely been able to do that. Um, but yeah, that's an achievement in and of itself. So yeah, there's just so many good things to take away with me here tonight.
That's right, man. Hunter Johnson rounds himself up and top after beating Dominic Cal by .014 at the wire. Congratulations, Hunter. Before we let you go, any sponsors you want to thank here for tonight's championship efforts?
Yeah, I gotta thank you guys for putting on the broadcast and Proximity Racing for everything that they do.
All right, about 10-4, Dominic Cal, what am I saying? Hunter Johnson rounds himself up top here after 61 laps of racing, winning 4 out of the scheduled 6 races. Congratulations on a dominant season here tonight. We look forward to seeing you the rest of the week.
All right, thanks, man.
And speaking of Dominic Cal, we'll go ahead and drag into the booth. I guess Kenneth or Dewey is going to take this one. I'm not sure.
I'll take it.
All right, we'll go ahead and drag into the booth Dominic Cal, and Dewey will take this one away.
All right, Dom, got a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Man, you had the best car of the night, led by far the most laps of the race, but unfortunately, you come up just short at Charlotte again. Of course, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast your flashback with Dallas Myhand winning that race, but fortunately, a cleaner finish this time. But one to remember, of course, an iSCAR. But even though you came up on the short end of that stick, how was your race overall?
Glad I qualified because this thing looked like a crapshoot in my mirror, but a lot of cautions, kept the car clean, finished second, good points, ended up P3rd in points, led a bunch of laps, and wish I could have won, but second's fine.
Yeah, of course, I definitely agree. As they say, second sucks, but in this case, second's a great run for you, and you had a pretty good season overall, man. I'm pretty sure you ended up third in the championship standings for
Yep.
this street stock season. So even though you came up just short tonight, it's still a wonderful season overall. And does this give you any momentum coming up towards, of course, the rest of this weekend in the Winter Series?
I don't know. Modified should be interesting. Looking forward to that. And then in the Winter Series, I think I should be okay on the short tracks. I think I've become a better 1.5 mile racer, but I'm not really sure. So I'm looking forward to that. Second sucks. Hopefully I can get a win in the future.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to Modifieds tomorrow at New Hampshire. That's going to be a great one. Hopefully you are there in contention. But, I mean, before I let you go, any sponsors you want to thank here for tonight and for your whole street stock season?
My proximity racing team, we're doing pretty okay right now. And then Hunter and Dylan for working with me, being in a voice call and everything. That really kept us up there, and we all finished pretty good.
All right, Dominic Howe, your runner-up here tonight at Charlotte. Hope to see you back the rest of this weekend and the Winter Series, bud.
Yep, thank you.
That was Dominic Cal, that number 58. That will be the whole interview area here for tonight, I think.
You know what? Matthew Klein's in the waiting room. He finished 5th in points. Let's drag him in here and give him an interview. Screw it.
Right.
Let's
Might
do
as
it.
well. Yeah.
Klein, what's up? You there?
How?
Yeah, Matthew Klein running himself out 12th here in the race. But Klein, oh my goodness, dude, you're the underdog this whole entire. Look at you're 5th in the standings. You round yourself out 5th in the standings. Unbelievable job by you. I mean, this came out of nowhere. Matthew, you're basically the underdog this whole entire season, and we really haven't talked about you a lot, but rounding yourself out 5th in the standings, you're best. Overall, how does it feel?
I can't believe it. I just want to thank everybody at AK Racing Technologies for giving me good race cars to race. I mean, we had not the best cars all season. I mean, we were consistently behind the best cars in the field, like Proximity and SPG, but somehow we made fifth in standings. I don't know how.
That's right, man. Your consistent finishes rounded yourself out a solid points day here for tonight, finishing 12th after starting up all the way in 32nd. But it's a trend for you. You start yourself in the back, get clear of the wrecks. Of course, you dodged some here tonight, some big wrecks. You run yourself out 12th in the race, and that was enough to boost you up 5th in standings. Congratulations, but definitely a momentum booster.
Yeah. Hopefully I can take this into tomorrow night.
All right, bud, 10-4.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
All right, but before we let you go, any sponsor want to thank here for tonight's race?
I just want to thank Dodge and who was on my card this weekend? Wasn't it
Parker Store. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry about forgetting about them, but yeah. Thanks for those guys for sponsoring my race car.
All right, bud, 10-4. Matthew Klein writing himself out 5th in standings. We'll go ahead and see you come to your next race, bud.
Thanks.
Oops. Sort of dragged him out mid.
Yeah, what a great job by Matthew overall to get himself to 5th in points. And once again, congratulations to Hunter Johnson, your Season 2 Street Stock champion, your Season 4 champion, your Season 5 champion, and now your Season 10 champion. So his 4th Street Stock title in the 10 seasons we've had. So he's won 40% of the Street Stock championships here in iSCAR, and I'll be the one to ask this week, what did y'all think of tonight's race?
Ken, we'll start with you.
Oh man, I think it pretty much went the way that every other race in the season went. So many yellows, lots of people getting together. I know this field comparatively to what we saw in the past couple of races has been wildly different. We saw so many more drivers in this one. 43 as opposed to more like 30s, more in the 30s that we saw in some of the other races this season. But Street Stocks continue to bring the chaos, and Hunter Johnson, I think he deserved this. I think he really put on a show every single race that he was out on track, and he really showed the rest of the field that he was the better car, he was the better driver, and he caps it off tonight with an ecstatic finish over Dominic Howe and Tartaj, man. Really great. I was happy to sponsor this series this season. Lots of fun, and hopefully in future endeavors it'll be the same thing. What about you, Zeke?
Oh, another great Street Stock season into the books. I mean, this is just a racing staple here in iSCAR. We see it every year. Fantastic racing. The classic 6-race format, of course, ending it off or starting it off at Charlotte. And here, a perfect example of what iSCAR is here tonight. Dewey, how about you?
Well, they talk about NASCAR routes at the local short tracks and stuff. Well, Charlotte and USA, those are the iSCAR routes. And, of course, we saw another classic race. Of course, a bit more messy than people would have probably liked it to be. But again, it's Charlotte, it's Street Stocks. Things are bound to happen. And tonight, what a great job by Hunter Johnson to win here tonight. And a shout out to Kenneth for, of course, sponsoring this series. It was great to have him up in the booth for the first time ever in iSCAR. It was a lot of fun having you up here, and hopefully you can join us for more broadcasts in the future, probably in the Winter Series. And, of course, the funds from that helped us with the funds to give Hunter for winning the championship tonight, so thank you for that. But overall, man, I was pretty happy with the way tonight's race rounded itself out.
Yeah, same here. I know it was a bit of a caution fest, unfortunately, but lots of drivers on a traditional super speedway type track sort of played into that, of course. Just a lot of variables playing into how tonight's race went. And with that being said, congratulations to Hunter Johnson for winning the points championship as well as the race here tonight. Tune in tomorrow night, most likely on KBRN, once we go for the Tolsma Designs, I was about to say Street Stock Store, but the Tolsma Designs Tour Modifieds, as we go green at New Hampshire. With that said, my name is Zeke Reyes. Dewey Schramm alongside of the booth, and Kenneth Bueno as well. They're there as well.
Hi.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow night on KBRN as we round out the season here. Yeah.